What is more dangerous, being ignored or being loved? You may believe love is the highest virtue, that earning the affection of others guarantees security. But love is fickle, built on emotions that shift like sand in the wind. One mistake, one misstep, and years of devotion can vanish overnight. You are not loved, you are merely useful for now. Since childhood you've been told to be kind, agreeable, pleasing, but no one warned you that kindness, when given without measure, is an invitation to exploitation. The more you seek approval, the weaker you appear. Every forced smile, every unnecessary apology, every attempt to please makes you an easy target. People respect strength, they admire confidence, but they only tolerate those who beg for affection. Do not seek to be loved at all costs. Instead, command respect. Let them admire you, even fear you, but never let them see you as weak. In a world where loyalty is fleeting, only one thing endures: the power of your presence. Stay with me, and together we'll uncover the mindset that ensures you are never hated, only remembered. 1. Fear as power. Fear is not an illusion, nor is it a fleeting emotion like admiration or affection. It is carved into the mind like a scar, a mark that does not fade with time. But not all fear is the same. There is a fear that leads to hatred, born from cruelty, oppression, and arrogance. That kind of fear is self-destructive, a poison that turns against its wielder. Then there is another kind of fear, one that walks hand in hand with respect. This is the fear that arises from unwavering strength, from the unshakable presence of a person who cannot be easily swayed. It is the fear that tells others, "Here stands someone who cannot be manipulated, who does not bend to the whims of the crowd." This is not the fear of a tyrant, but the fear of a force that commands caution and consideration. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." Those who desire only love and affection set their ambitions too low. They seek temporary comforts instead of lasting strength. The world does not reward the overly kind. It rewards those who command respect. This is why history remembers figures like Julius Caesar and Napoleon, not because they were loved, but because they were powerful. Consider the story of Marcus Licinius Crassus, the Roman general and politician. He sought influence not through fear, but through desperate attempts to be admired. His wealth bought him temporary allies, but his lack of commanding presence made him vulnerable. When he led an ill-fated campaign against the Parthians, his men did not respect him enough to follow with conviction, and his enemies did not fear him enough to hesitate. He was captured and executed in humiliation. Crassus wanted to be accepted. He should have chosen to be respected. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Many waste their time chasing affection, believing that if they are good enough, kind enough, soft enough, the world will reward them. But life does not work that way. Excessive kindness is often mistaken for weakness. And in a world where people exploit weakness, the path of the Stoic is clear. Cultivate the kind of presence that demands respect, not pity. To be feared is not to be hated. It is to be taken seriously. It is to move through the world with a quiet, unshakable force, one that does not beg for approval, but commands acknowledgement. Be firm in your actions, disciplined in your choices, and indifferent to the need for admiration. In the end, it is not love that grants security, but the undeniable power of self-mastery. 2. Laws and force. Modern society teaches you that firmness is cruelty, that setting clear boundaries is oppression, but ask yourself, who truly benefits from this belief? Only those who wait for you to lower your guard, those who pretend to be loyal but will not hesitate to strike when it suits them. People act according to their own interests. Loyalty lasts only as long as it is beneficial. Respect is upheld only when there are consequences for betrayal. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius' words remind us that control does not come from blind optimism, but from understanding reality. And in the realm of power, two forces sustain order: laws and the strength to enforce them. Laws establish limits, creating a framework for discipline and justice. But laws alone are powerless without the force to uphold them. A rule that cannot be enforced is nothing but a suggestion. Conversely, force without laws leads to chaos, brutality that breeds resentment and hatred. The wise leader, the true Stoic, understands the balance. He enforces order with discipline, but never allows himself to be consumed by unnecessary cruelty. History provides countless examples. Some rulers relied solely on laws, believing justice alone would maintain order, only to be overthrown by those who did not fear them. Others ruled with brute force, thinking strength alone was enough, only to be hated and eventually destroyed. The most successful leaders understood that true stability comes from knowing when to apply force and when to use laws. Seneca warned, "A kingdom founded on injustice never lasts." Justice does not mean weakness. It means strength guided by wisdom. Those who wield power without restraint will fall, and those who rule by laws alone will be ignored. The lesson is clear. Do not hesitate to set boundaries. Do not fear enforcing them. Respect is not freely given. It is maintained through a presence that cannot be ignored. Power, when tempered with wisdom, is not cruelty. It is the only true safeguard against chaos. 3. Respect over love. You may see this perspective as harsh, even ruthless, but look around you. How often have you seen those who give too much, who extend kindness without limit, get trampled by the very people they helped? How often has leniency been mistaken for weakness, generosity repaid with betrayal? And yet, many still cling to the illusion that being loved is enough, that kindness alone will shield them from harm. It won't. The only true defense is respect, an authority that commands obedience, a presence that instills careful restraint. Not tyranny, not cruelty, but a measured fear that prevents others from seeing you as expendable. If you wish to be loved, love yourself first. These words from Epictetus remind us that self-respect must come before seeking it from others. And respect, once earned, lasts far longer than fleeting admiration. Consider the story of Emperor Augustus, who transformed Rome from a fragile republic into a stable empire. He did not rule through love, he ruled through respect, maintaining control with calculated authority. His restraint ensured he was feared enough to be obeyed, but never hated enough to be overthrown. In contrast, Emperor Nero sought love and adoration, but ruled without discipline. His desire for approval made him weak, and when the tide turned against him, no one stood in his defense. True power is not found in being liked by all. It is not in pleasing the masses or shaping yourself to their expectations. True power is being respected, and yes, at times feared, because respect, when reinforced by fear, endures. Love, however, is fragile, subject to whims and fleeting emotions. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor. Seneca's words remind us that seeking love and approval above all else is a sign of weakness, a hunger that can never be satisfied. This is not a call to cruelty. It is an understanding of human nature. People respect what they fear losing, and they disregard what they consider safe. The key to leadership is mastering the balance, commanding respect, allowing a controlled fear to act as a safeguard, but never allowing that fear to fester into hatred. Hatred breeds enemies who will never forget, but fearful respect creates followers who will never dare to betray. 4. The art of measured power. Do you truly wish to be strong? Then accept reality. Stop chasing affection and learn to manage fear with wisdom. Be just, but firm. Be kind, but never indulgent. Act with foresight, always anticipating betrayal and preparing deliberate, calculated responses. Because when the moment of reckoning arrives, when you stand before those who wish to see you fall, only true authority, built on balance and discipline, will keep you standing. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that strength is not in words, but in action. People may forget the favors you grant them, but they never forget the respect you command. Power is not secured through fleeting affection. It is safeguarded through the quiet certainty that you are not to be taken lightly. Consider the case of the Roman general Fabius Maximus, known as the Delayer. He did not seek immediate victories to win the people's admiration. Instead, he used patience and strategy to wear down Hannibal's army, striking only when the time was right. Many criticized him for not being aggressive enough, but in the end, his restraint led Rome to victory. His power came not from brute force or constant displays of strength, but from precise, unexpected action. Seneca once wrote, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." A leader who constantly shows force becomes predictable and loses impact. True authority is strategic. If you always punish, people grow numb to it. But if you remain measured, choosing the right moments to act, your discipline becomes legendary. Unpredictability is your strongest ally, because no one respects a leader they can easily predict. Power is not about volume, but precision. It is not about shouting to be heard, but about speaking so that your words are never ignored. A ruler who acts with control, who enforces respect without inviting hatred, masters the true essence of leadership. 5. The pitfall of pleasing. The greatest mistake a leader can make is seeking to please everyone. The one who craves approval becomes a servant to the whims of others, losing control over their own nature. And in the end, by trying to satisfy all, they satisfy none, betraying not only their position, but their very essence. An authentic leader understands that ruling is not about comfort, but about necessity. Decisions must be made, not to win admiration, but to secure order. The masses may not applaud wisdom in the moment, but in silence they will recognize its necessity. It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own. Marcus Aurelius saw this flaw in human nature. Those who lead must rise above it. History does not remember those who sought to be loved. It remembers those who dared to decide. Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon, knowing it meant war. George Washington stepped away from power, knowing restraint was greater than conquest. Their greatness lay not in being agreeable, but in their unwavering resolve when others hesitated. Firmness, balanced with respect, commands obedience. A leader who wavers loses all authority. A leader who acts with certainty is followed, even by those who once doubted them. Seneca reminds us, brave men rejoice in adversity, just as brave soldiers triumph in war. Strength is not about never facing resistance. It is about meeting resistance with unwavering conviction. In the end, leadership is not about pleasing, it is about deciding. And those who dare to decide with wisdom and strength will not only be followed, but remembered. 6. Power's loneliness. Now we arrive at a truth few are willing to face, the loneliness of power. Do you know why great leaders often stand alone? Because real strength creates distance. The higher you rise, the fewer people can truly understand your choices. The stronger you become, the fewer will stand beside you without resentment. This is the paradox of power. Those who seek it must embrace solitude. But this solitude is not a burden, it is freedom. Accepting it liberates you from the need for constant validation. Only then can you act with clarity, unshackled from the weight of others' emotions. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus reminds us that the pursuit of greatness often comes with misunderstanding. A leader must not expect companionship at every step, nor should they fear the isolation that comes with making difficult choices. Look around. How many have fallen because they failed to understand this? Power, when shared with those who do not comprehend it, breeds envy. And envy is not merely a distraction, it is the seed of betrayal. A wise leader foresees this, keeping only the truly loyal close and distancing those who linger for their own advantage. Consider the case of Napoleon. His rise was meteoric, but so was his downfall. He trusted too easily, believing loyalty could be maintained through gratitude. Yet, when the tides turned, those closest to him became his greatest enemies. Had he been more selective, more strategic in his trust, his empire might have endured longer. Seneca warned, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." A leader does not need a crowd. They need a select few, chosen with wisdom. Never reveal too much of yourself. Maintain a calculated distance. Mystery is a shield, and unpredictability is a weapon. People cannot strike what they do not fully understand. Power does not require constant displays of strength. It requires control over yourself, your emotions, and the access others have to you. Keep some part of yourself unknowable. Let uncertainty be your armor, and solitude your strength. 7. Mastering weakness. Here is what few understand about real power. It is not about brute strength, but about mastering the weaknesses of others. A leader does not seek to overpower, but to guide, by knowing what moves people, what they fear, and what they desire. Understand this, and you hold an unshakable advantage. Do you know why some individuals always seem to get what they want? It is because they observe, they listen, and they recognize the invisible strings that control human behavior. While others exhaust themselves chasing approval, the wise leader remains still, studying what truly drives those around them. Most men hesitate to help the weak, but everyone respects the strong. These words of Seneca reflect an unchanging truth. People rarely act from pure virtue. More often than not, they act out of self-interest, and whoever understands this does not live in illusions, but governs from a position of strength. Consider the rise of Gaius Julius Caesar. He did not command loyalty through blind generosity, nor did he seek to be universally loved. Instead, he carefully managed his alliances, rewarding loyalty strategically and punishing betrayal decisively. Those who followed him did so not because he was kind, but because they knew he was powerful, and that aligning with him served their interests. Many believe the key to influence is being seen as good. But ask yourself, what happens when others perceive weakness? They exploit it, without exception. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that power is not about becoming ruthless. It is about being unshakable. True strength is not in blind generosity, but in measured kindness, given with intention, never squandered. Give too freely and people will stop being grateful and start making demands. Show too much mercy and your authority erodes. The wise leader does not reject kindness, but wields it sparingly, like a sharpened blade, offered only when it serves a purpose, never as a gift to be taken for granted. 8. Power's fragile edge. The true danger is not in being firm, it is in hesitating when firmness is required. Respect is not lost through decisive action, but through doubt. A leader who wavers, who questions when to stand strong, invites weakness. And weakness is never ignored, it is always exploited. Here is the final truth, one that few dare to admit. Power, though enjoyed, is never fully possessed. It is an endless struggle, a balance that must be maintained at all times. Let your guard down for even a moment and someone else will take your place. You already know this. You feel it, even if you have never spoken it aloud. That constant vigilance, the awareness that authority is never truly secure. And far from being a disadvantage, this is precisely what keeps you sharp. Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Seneca's words remind us that this tension is not a burden, but a necessity. Look at the history of Rome. Every emperor who believed their power was absolute, who forgot the delicate balance of leadership, was eventually overthrown. Julius Caesar, believing his command unquestioned, ignored the whispers of betrayal and paid the price. Meanwhile, Augustus ruled for decades, not through arrogance, but through the constant, careful renewal of his authority. Because here lies the deepest reality. Power is nothing more than a shared illusion. It exists only as long as others believe it does. Laws and force reinforce this belief, but they are not the source of power. They are only tools. What happens when people stop believing in your authority? When the silent agreement about who truly leads dissolves? Exactly. Your power disappears. This is why the greatest skill of a leader is not force. It is maintaining this invisible contract, renewing it, even challenging it when necessary, just to remind everyone who's steering the ship. He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man. Epictetus warns us that fear makes us weak, and the greatest weakness is believing that power is permanent. The tyrant believes they rule absolutely, but in doing so, they lose all awareness of reality, and ultimately, they destroy themselves. The true leader understands that power is fragile, always on the verge of being lost. And it's precisely this awareness, this constant tension, that makes them unshakable. 9. The Stoic path to enduring power. Now, let me ask you one final question, the most uncomfortable, yet the most important. Do you truly desire power, or do you merely seek the illusion of security that power seems to offer? Because if you are searching for absolute peace, you have chosen the wrong path. True leadership is never comfortable. It is never safe. But that is precisely what makes it valuable. Within that controlled uncertainty, within that ever-present tension, lies the force that shapes history. Those who do not shy away from it, who learn to thrive in it, become the ones remembered long after they are gone. Greatness does not belong to those who seek comfort. It belongs to those who embrace struggle, who understand that power is not a shield against hardship, but a test of endurance. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Seneca reminds us that hardship is not something to be avoided. It is the crucible that forges strength. Every leader walks a fragile path, where every decision carries weight. But that is what gives power its meaning. If you want to influence the world, if you want to leave a mark that endures, then embrace the discomfort. Master it. And above all, never let it control you. Throughout history, the greatest leaders have not been those who sought to be loved, but those who understood when to act with force and when to exercise restraint. Julius Caesar, despite early defeats, returned stronger. Marcus Aurelius, facing war and plague, never allowed the chaos around him to weaken his resolve. Napoleon Bonaparte, rising from obscurity, mastered the art of calculated action, moving swiftly when necessary, but holding back when patience was required. The difference between the forgotten and the legendary is not in avoiding failure, but in refusing to be broken by it. The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. Epictetus teaches that true power is not about winning every battle. It is about the ability to rise, time and time again, without hesitation. Power is not a fixed possession. It is a constant game, an ever-shifting balance. The moment you believe it is secure is the moment it begins to slip from your grasp. Do not be fooled. Your authority exists only as long as others recognize it. Laws and force may reinforce it, but they do not create it. Power is nothing more than a shared belief, an unspoken agreement between you and those who follow. And the greatest skill of a leader is not domination. It is the ability to keep that agreement alive, to renew it constantly, to challenge it when necessary, just to remind everyone who truly commands. This is where the difference between a leader and a tyrant becomes clear. The tyrant believes their power is absolute, unshakable, but in believing so, they lose all awareness of reality. They stop adapting, stop watching, and in the end, they fall. The true leader understands that power is always fragile, always on the verge of being lost, and that awareness, that constant vigilance, is precisely what makes them unshakable. So now the choice is yours. Will you lead or will you follow? Will you shape your fate or allow others to decide it for you? Remember this: power is never granted, it is seized. And once taken, it demands constant wisdom to maintain. Manage respect with precision, control fear, avoid hatred, and you will master any situation. Because in the end, leadership is not about striking the hardest. It is about knowing exactly when to strike and when to hold back. The greatest leaders do not beg for respect, they command it. Not through empty words, but through deliberate action. And those who master this balance will not only be followed, they will be remembered. In the end, leadership is not a title. It is a test of discipline, resilience, and wisdom. Power is a path walked with precision, where respect must be cultivated and fear must be wielded with control. There are no fixed formulas, only timeless principles, rooted in strength, guided by reason and sharpened by experience. Now, after all this, ask yourself, are you truly ready to embrace real power? Not the illusion of authority, but the kind that commands without force, that endures without seeking approval. This is a choice from which there is no turning back, because once you understand the nature of respect and fear, you can never see the world the same way again. If you have come this far, you are already ahead of most. Now, take the next step, like this video, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Strength endures. The journey does not end here. In the next video, we will go even deeper into the strategies, the mindset, and the silent forces that shape true authority. Stay sharp, stay unshakable. I'll see you soon.